Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world. I'm Felipe Hoffa, developer advocate for Snowflake, and we are live again. It's 2 weeks from the summit, and today our guest is Josh Klahr, Snowflake Product Management. You are a director for all things data platform. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm great, Felipe. It's good to see you again.
I'm very
It's
happy
more
to
fun
see you
seeing you
again.
in person at Summit, but it's good to see you again.
Oh my God, Summit was so much fun. Also, you were one of our top judges for the demo there live finale. So that was a lot
Right.
of fun.
I got to channel
And
my inner Simon Cowell.
yes, and you were very nice to the attendees. I'm looking at LinkedIn. Some people are connecting. We are ready to go. So, as always, I remind people that we are happy to take live questions. That's why we are going to do this live. And today we're going to focus on this post that you made. What is this, Josh?
Well, this is kind of reflecting back on the week after Summit, a list of, at least for me, some of the top items from a data platform perspective that I was excited about. I will admit, Felipe, that when we were prepping for this, I think we agreed maybe I should have to limit myself to 10, although there's probably 20 other things I could mention. But these I thought were some really exciting highlights from Summit, and thought it would be fun to share with the audience, maybe a little bit more detail behind each of them.
Yes, and it's interesting that you had to limit things not only to your area, but there's so much more that's beyond your area. So, how do you define your area of product management at Snowflake?
Well, I primarily focus on things data platform related. So that ranges from our core SQL language. One of the things I don't have on this list that I know people are excited about were our new filter and transform Lambda functions, higher order functions via SQL. So I look at things like SQL, core platform performance. So whether it's a SQL query or a Snowpark query, and making sure we are processing uh, kind of data queries and analytical queries as efficiently and cost effective as possible. So lots of focus on performance, and then also kind of extending out the analytic surface area into this area we call advanced analytics. Maybe not things you typically do with a data warehouse, but questions you can ask using Snowflake.
Questions you can ask using Snowflake. What kind of questions are those?
Oh, there's so many, Felipe. Uh, should we dive in? Should we get
For,
started?
for sure, for sure. So we have advanced analytics, observability, dynamic tables, Iceberg and Polaris, semantic layers, and BI tools in the Snowflake marketplace. So there's a universe of these. Core platform performance, cost management and insights, Cortex Analyst and Copilot, Trust Center, and the dark mode. Now, before we dive in,
Don't talk about dark mode. Dark mode yet. That's the
okay,
secret. Yeah.
sorry for reading it. Let's leave the surprise until the end, as Christian did in the keynote. But you told us here to also, in part of the announcement is that we also created the summit recap report that people can download. There's a PDF here that people can go see. Uh, Enterprise AI, strong data foundation, from Arctic to universal search, open source innovation. The AI data cloud is driving success for leading companies. So there's so much more to see. That's the official summary. Today we're going to focus on Josh, on your most exciting,
We'll call this the unofficial summary.
exactly, just summary, which is amazing to have. So let's switch to your desktop.
Let's do it. So let's just dive in. Let's first talk about this idea of advanced analytics. And as I mentioned, Felipe, the way we think about this is there's a set of traditional questions you might ask of a data warehouse, looking at rows and columns, looking at historical data, trying to understand how a business is operating, and from a transactional perspective. When we move into the world of advanced analytics, we start to kind of look at additional data types, additional types of questions, and maybe even instead of looking at the past, looking at the future. And kind of to get started, if folks are interested in this area, I would suggest go to our tutorials. Very simple URL here. Just check out Snowflake tutorials. And one of the things we spent a lot of time talking about at Snowflake was time series analytics. And so if you go to our time series analytics tutorial, it's actually a pretty comprehensive guide on actually how to set up generated data, how to set up Snowpipe streaming to actually ingest time series and IoT data. There's a set of details around the functions that Snowflake has for doing time series analytics, including our recently launched As of Join. As of Join allows you to join together multiple time series that maybe don't have an exact match on timestamp, but maybe you want to connect trades and quotes for financial services, or maybe you want to connect a bunch of metrics data. So time series is a great tutorial to check out. The other area that we consider in the world of advanced analytics is geospatial. And Snowflake has a pretty rich set of capabilities looking at geospatial analytics. And if you want to get started with geospatial, one of the tutorials that we launched and we did a hands-on lab for at Summit is this getting started with geospatial, where you can actually use one of our partners on the marketplace to pull in some Carto data. This is the New York taxi cab data. We have a set of examples about how to actually convert lat and long into geo data types within Snowflake. And once you've done that, you can apply a bunch of functions. For example, we recently launched support for something called H3. And H3 takes location data and it turns it into a grid. It's called discrete global grid, a set of hexagons. And then you can start visualizing data on a map like you see here. And you can zoom in and out, different levels of resolution. So this app allows you basically start with lat long data, convert that to geospatial, use H3 to calculate aggregated metrics at a very fine level of detail. You can zoom in and out. We have a Streamlit app that allows you to do that. And then you can also use our Cortex ML functions that allow, among other things, allow you to do time series-based forecasting. And so you can start doing time series-based forecasting. In this example, we were forecasting future demand in a particular region. I think it was the LaGuardia Airport. So this is a really great way to get started in that area of advanced analytics.
Excellent. Let me interrupt you for a second because we have a question here from Steven Dario Rodriguez. He wants to share the links in the comments. And as usual, I'm having trouble with LinkedIn comments. I'm trying to post a link to your
Here's the key link, docs.snowflake.com/en for the English version /tutorials. And then once you're there, you can just start searching the tutorials. So you can search for geo, you can search for time series. And like I said, these are really comprehensive. They're a lot of fun and also a great way to get started.
Yes, and yeah, if the LinkedIn comments are failing, people can always come to our YouTube channel. Now, you have all the links in your LinkedIn profile, so this is a big invitation for people to find Josh, follow Josh.
There we go.
He's not only doing this update, he's always doing updates of what's happening around Snowflake. I love following his posts, so follow him. Follow me too if you want, but follow Josh for all his updates, including the links to this post. So Steven says, thanks. Let's go back to advanced analytics to observability.
Yes,
by the way, just a short comment. As of joins, we should dedicate a whole episode to time series, but as of joins are really, really cool as our geo capabilities.
I agree.
Back to you, Josh.
Yes. Thanks for calling out as of joins. It's my new favorite SQL feature. Let's talk quickly about observability. And observability in this context is really observability for Snowflake developers. If you were building a native app on Snowflake, if you were building pipelines and you're creating UDFs, if you have Snowpark code that you're running, Snowflake observability, or Snowflake Trail is what we call it, allows you to route your logs, actually create traces that connect different parts of your programs running in Snowflake. All of those things get routed to a standard table format in Snowflake called event tables. And then once that data is there, you actually can start getting a log search experience of your application logs running in Snowflake. You can actually do distributed tracing now. So you can look at, what happened in my Streamlit app and how did that actually maybe call a UDF, and that UDF subsequently called and executed some SQL functions. You can actually start tracing those like a span and look at the end-to-end kind of duration, what's actually happening in your program. So as someone who has a lot of experience in the world of observability in general, and of having this as a first-class capability within Snowflake for our developers to really understand how their applications are performing, especially with the launch of things like native apps and Snowpark container services, I think this is a really compelling functionality.
Yeah, I understand that some of these features are in public preview, some of these are in private preview, but we announced the whole set of
That is correct.
Observability abilities.
That is correct.
Nice.
And I'll just mention, if you are using third-party tools, as many of our customers are, you can also integrate those tools to the Snowflake event table, and so you can have your logs and metrics from your Snowflake apps going out into tools like Grafana or Datadog as well.
Excellent. We live in an industry and we connect with the whole industry, so that's really cool.
On the topic of observability, we've actually been we were in public preview for a while with this capability called dynamic tables, and you can view dynamic tables as basically a declarative way of combining SQL statements as a graph to create an end table. So dynamic tables allows you to basically assert, I want to chain together these set of SQL statements. At the end, the output is a table. And then you can set some characteristics. For example, what is the lag time? What does the refresh frequency look like for these dynamic tables? And on the back end, Snowflake will manage keeping that end table up to date within a target lag. It'll try to be smart about things like doing incremental updates of your particular graph. Dynamic tables went into GA, I think, in April of this year. But one of the things that I really like is the ability to actually look at those dynamic tables in a graph view. So, for example, here we have, I'm looking within Snowsight at my list of dynamic tables. This is a fun one. You can see fact market history. It has a target lag of an hour. The last time it ran, it took 48 minutes. So, and it's consistently within its target lag. But if I wanted to drill into fact market history and actually try to understand what's happening, I can go and I can look at the graph of this entire. Dynamic table, and so each one of these nodes is actually. So this is one dynamic table, and if you think about how powerful that is, now Snowflake is taking care of sequencing the loads of these tables, making sure that the tables on the left side of the graph get loaded before the tables on the right side of the graph. Managing dependencies, and in any one of these nodes, you can actually drill in if you're trying to understand. Maybe you saw a failure or a lag in one of your tables. You can actually start drilling in and look at the details of that particular dynamic table. And so this is, I think, just a really, really powerful capability for our customers that are doing data engineering workloads and data pipelines. Dynamic tables is great, and I think this visual exploration and graph representation of the tables is a great way to manage them.
That's an amazing dynamic table to show. Like that choice was like, oh wow, that's how we go show how deep these dependencies can go and how cool it is to have observability. I do have a question.
And building that graph is as simple as writing the SQL. Nobody's actually gone and pieced that together. We take care of managing the dependencies there.
Exactly. You write your SQL and Snowflake understands all the dependencies and it shows it to you. One question about the previous point from Parveen. It's a little tangential, but maybe we have a good answer for him. Does Snowflake read instrumentation data from the logs that comes with mostly Xcodes, and can the analytics be trained to interpret the data within Snowflake? I want to say yes, but how do you look at this question? Because what I'm thinking here is that we can read anything, even binary types, with the correct Python libraries, for example.
Yes, I think the short answer is yes. There's probably there's not kind of out of the box capabilities there, but we have a lot of customers that ingest log data into Snowflake. We have kind of a rich set of manipulations you can do either in SQL or with UDFs or with Python. And it's definitely a use case that we increasingly see as customers putting log data into Snowflake for their logs data lake for generalized observability use cases.
Yeah, so even binary logs we can read if they bring the code in Python, in Java, and Scala that understands that binary file. Snowflake is ready to use that code to read whatever. Thank you.
Cool. I made the mistake of going and looking at the chat, and there are a lot of questions there, but I'm going to keep going because.
Oh yes, you keep going. I'll choose the questions relevant to the topic, and we'll leave some of them until the end if they're not entirely relevant.
All right. Let's talk briefly about the kind of one of the big topics at Snowflake was the general availability of our support for Iceberg. For those who are not aware, Iceberg is an Apache project. It is an open table format for customers that want to deploy this idea of a data lake. Maybe they want multiple engines to be able to consume the same data, so they land that data in their cloud storage, typically in a storage format called Parquet. And Iceberg is the catalog system that helps Snowflake as well as other engines understand kind of the concept of tables and columns, metadata around those tables and columns. And so we GA'd our support for Iceberg tables. What this means is Snowflake can run natively on top of Iceberg tables. In fact, you can create and manage an entire table in Snowflake that is an Iceberg table. Those Iceberg tables can sit in your own storage or in Snowflake managed storage. And so this really opens up a whole host of use cases around kind of data lake and unmanaged data within Snowflake. We also announced our Polaris catalog effort. Polaris is an open source Iceberg catalog. It is important for us to have a really robust catalog system so that Snowflake can work well with Iceberg, but we also want to make sure that the community out there has an open source catalog system to use on top of Iceberg. One of the reasons that we see customers choosing open standards like Iceberg is they want to make sure that their data is always in an open format, and they can pick and choose who the engines are that read that. And with an open source catalog like Polaris, we think that gives customers the confidence that they can use Snowflake if it solves the problem, and if it doesn't, they can use other tools.
Cool. So the open source world is getting a new catalog. We are working with Iceberg, strongly backed by the Apache Foundation. That is awesome.
Okay. So that's Iceberg on, I would say, one half of the world, which is like your data lake and your data store. The other part of the world that our customers spend a lot of time doing in Snowflake is using analytics tools and BI tools. One of the things that I saw a lot of at Snowflake Summit was increasingly this discussion around the idea of a semantic layer. And you can kind of use, if you look at a typical business intelligence tool, those are maybe implementations of a semantic layer. Instead of looking at tables and columns and the relationships between those tables, as a business user in a BI tool, you're looking at metrics and dimensions and attributes, and you're slicing and dicing using terms that make sense to your business, not what makes sense to your data model. And what we saw at Snowflake was a kind of an increased interest in semantic layers and semantic models, in part because customers want that to be part of kind of the core data platform. They don't want those semantic models to exist in multiple BI tools with multiple definitions and kind of multiple stewards, multiple sources of governance. The other thing we saw is that semantic layers really unlock the performance of co-pilot experiences and LLM-powered experiences. When an LLM looks at a raw schema and doesn't understand anything about the semantics of that schema, the quality of your results is sometimes not that great. When you put a semantic layer on top of it, the quality of those results really improves. And so one of the things I was excited to see at Snowflake is an increasing number of semantic layer players, as well as business intelligence players. So Our partners Sigma now have components that are available as native apps within Snowflake. You can view these native apps as analytical applications that you can deploy inside your Snowflake account. You don't have to spin up or worry about connections from third-party SaaS applications connecting into your Snowflake account. So the path to using these third-party native apps within the Snowflake marketplace makes it a lot easier to start taking advantage of the analytical capabilities provided by our friends at Sigma, the semantic layer capabilities provided by folks like Honeydew or AtScale. And you can really bring those semantic layers and BI capabilities directly to the data within Snowflake. And these are available in our Snowflake marketplace today. So you can go search the marketplace. You can search the marketplace for other things as well. You can search for data products. You can search for other ISV partners, and you can find applications that you can install directly within your Snowflake account.
Cool. Semantic layers are important. By the way, I will interrupt you. We have like 8 minutes left, so we will go quickly over the next points. But I need to interrupt with an ad because we have many questions about resources to prepare for certification in data engineering, how to learn Snowflake, how to get a job with Snowflake. And we did release this last week for free on Coursera, Intro to Snowflake for developers, data scientists, and data engineers. My teammates created this class. It's ready for you, beginner level. Just go and take this class in 10 hours. You will have your Intro to Snowflake for everyone that's asking, how do I learn Snowflake? So many resources. This is a new one on Coursera and for free. Back to you, Josh.
Okay, sounds like a great class. Okay, yes. On the topic of going faster, let's talk a little bit about one of my favorite topics, which is performance. I've worked in the database industry for a really long time, and one thing that never changes is trying to make things faster. So one of the things we talked about at Summit was the update to our most recent Snowflake Performance Index. Snowflake Performance Index is a benchmark of real-life customer workloads within Snowflake, and we are constantly trying to improve the performance of those workloads over time. We use the Snowflake Performance Index to influence our product roadmap. And so if you go and do a search for Snowflake Performance Index, you'll find Rudy's great blog on this topic. This includes kind of an overall view of how query duration, and if you think about query duration, that's the time spent running a query. When we make that shorter, you pay less for Snowflake because Snowflake bills by the minute. So the faster we are, the cheaper we are for you. If you want to learn more details, you may or may not know this, but Snowflake has a very detailed list of performance release notes. And so you can actually go and look at all of the details and all of the updates we've been making from a performance perspective on an ongoing basis. Like I said, this is something that never ends, but we think it's really critical to make sure we have the best price performance in the market. Yes. On the topic of price performance, the other thing that we spent a lot of time talking about at Summit this year was the new capabilities in Snowflake around cost management and cost insights. We have launched and made generally available the ability to set budgets within your Snowflake account. And so here I'm looking at an account level budget within our Snowflake account. We provide a forecast so you can know, am I going to exceed my budget within the month? And then you can actually start drilling into details. And on our PM instance, it looks like Sandeep is really spending a lot of warehouse credits. But the idea with cost management is we can give you a high level view of how you're tracking against your budget. We can look at the sources of spend across warehouses. You can find your most expensive queries either by total time or by number of queries. You can figure out who's running those queries. It looks like my friend Ted has an expensive query here. And the other thing that we announced that I'm very excited about is this concept of cost insights. So what we now do within Snowflake is within every account, we run a series of checks to see, can you save money by following some best practices? So here we've identified a large table that has not been queried in a long time. We've identified a materialized view that we're generating that has not been used in a long time, but we also ran a bunch of additional checks. tables where we're writing data but never being read, short-lived permanent tables, rarely use search optimization paths. And we will be continuously announcing more and more of these cost insights over time.
Yes.
We're
So
really
on
excited.
one hand, Snowflake keeps getting faster and cheaper, hence, and then we also give people very good visibility on where it's good to optimize. And well, people keep adding you to your LinkedIn network. I like seeing that number grow as our conversation.
Exactly. Each time it's getting bigger. All
Yes.
right. Cortex Analyst and Copilot. I saw a lot of questions there about kind of what we are doing in the world of LLMs. Snowflake has a Copilot experience that exists today. And in Snowflake Copilot, you can basically say, give me sales over time, drill in and tell me who are the biggest customers that have moved in that time period. We also, and Copilot is in public preview today. In public preview soon will be this context of Cortex Analyst, and Cortex Analyst will allow you to build your own chatbots. So within Snowflake, there's an AI and ML studio, and you can start to create your own search experience, your own chat playground. If you attended Snowflake Summit, you saw Christian Kleinerman, our SVP of product, up on stage, pull someone who had never used Snowflake before, and she created a chatbot within 5 minutes with some fun mishaps along the way. But that was pretty awesome. So definitely check out Cortex and our LLM, Copilot, and Analyst experiences. It's really, really compelling. And in the spirit of Snowflake, it's really simple to get started.
Yes, I have a quick question, and I have a quick answer for it too. Is can I fine-tune the Snowflake Arctic model with data hosted in Snowflake? Go check our docs. Fine-tuning Snowflake Cortex.
Good answer, Felipe. Yes. Okay, I'm almost there. I think I'm gonna maybe finish on time. The other thing that we announced at Snowflake is the public preview of what we call Trust Center. And so Trust Center, similar to Cost Insights, Trust Center is a series of monitors that run within your Snowflake account. These monitors are based on something called the CIS benchmark, the Center for Information Security, which are a set of rules where we're checking to make sure, are you doing things within your account that may expose you to higher risk of security issues. For example, make sure that tasks aren't running as account admin. Make sure that the Snowflake password is unset for SSO users. And a really critical one, make sure that you have things like multi-factor authentication turned on. So when you click on these insights within Trust Center, we provide very prescriptive advice on actually how to adjust that and how to address the risk. And the intent with Trust Center is these monitors run on an ongoing basis and give our admins basically the tools and visibility they need to make sure that they have configured their Snowflake accounts in as secure a way as possible. So really, really critical.
And you're getting a lot of notifications because I guess this is an account for tests and not a real production database.
That is right. This is we want these to show up, because this is our test account where we need to find those violations. And then the final thing I will mention that we announced at Snowflake that was a lot of fun is if I go to my user and I go to my profile, I can now, sorry, not my profile, switch to dark mode within Snowflake. So I know the simple things go a long way. I'm always surprised that this got a lot of cheers. People really love dark mode. So that was the number one exciting thing at Snowflake Summit.
Yes. On the Snowflake subreddit, everyone, that's the top voted post of all time. People are really happy that we finally have dark mode on Snowsite. Beautiful. Well, what a landing. I told you we have 8 minutes and you delivered perfectly.
I can follow instructions very well, Felipe.
You're amazing. Like, that's why you were one of the judges for the demo there, where we wanted people to have exactly 5-minute demos. How do you want to close this? We have a couple questions like LLM-based analytic capabilities like Frosty. I don't. We have LLMs, LLM-based analytics. How would you answer this?
Do we have LLM-based analytics?
Yes. So how
We
do we
do
use
have, so
LLM for analytics?
yes, within Snowflake, we have a Copilot experience. That Copilot experience is available in things like Snowflake worksheets and Snowflake notebooks, and you can ask questions of your data. So you can point that Copilot experience at a table or a schema. You can start asking questions. Snowflake will generate the SQL and also answer the question and tell you why it wrote the SQL that it did. So very interesting capabilities, and it's an area where kind of we're seeing lots of customer interest in continuing to kind of push the envelope there.
Yes. By the way, I have to close. I also have messages from anonymous LinkedIn user. Thanks for the presentation. Great recap, Josh. Thanks for the recap, says Parveen. Purnima says, thank you both. And Miguel would love a session focused on LLMs. We can do
I agree.
that.
Felipe, there's your marching orders for the next LinkedIn Live.
LLMs. An LLM can speak for me too.
There we go.
One day. So Josh, you get the final word. What would you like people to remember and do next?
Well, Felipe, thanks for having me on. It's always fun to share the exciting stuff we're doing. I think I covered a lot of space here. Go check out those tutorials that I mentioned. Check out our documentation on what we're doing with the Snowflake Cortex functions. There's a lot of surface area there, ranging from search to Cortex Analyst to the Cortex ML functions that we've built in SQL. So I would make sure that you kind of go check out those capabilities. There's very rich documentation and demos, and it's really quite easy to get started.
Beautiful. And I'm glad that we got you 15 new friends on LinkedIn that added you. And a lot of people will keep adding you because you do awesome content and you're in charge of an awesome area of Snowflake. Thanks for delivering all of this. And I guess it's time to call our bear to dance us off. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.